All right, there was a request to show how the draft multiplier thing I announced will work next year. So briefly, the motivation behind making a change is for the Dynasty League to work optimally, the worst stables need to have a chance to get better. So I was hoping the top stables, in an effort to win the league, wouldn't spend much in the two-year-old draft with the idea that it would help them win the league this year. Then the lower stables would spend big and get the better horses of the next generation. It hasn't worked that way. Some of the best stables have spent big during the two-year-old drafts, and they've been able to outspend the lower tier stables because they have more money. And it has made it more likely that the bottom stables stay at the bottom. So I'm adjusting the draft rules to try to fix that. So I'll demonstrate the gist of the new system here. I have these in order. These are hypothetical standings for the two-year-old draft next year. The last place stable in this example is Alex because he's on the bottom, and I just wanted it to be in order. So before, Alex would have been able to spend $860,000 since you can't go below 100,000 and he has 960. 860 would be his max bid. The problem was everyone else could spend more than that. And the stables in the top five could spend a ton more than that. So I still wanted with this change, I still wanted every stable to have the option to bottom out if they want to. I don't want to make it so they can't spend money. I just want to make it so they can't be bullies and outspend the stables at the bottom. So the solution I came up with is to add a multiplier. The way it works is you'll still all bid the same way. You put your bids in here. Um, let's say Alex bids 15,000. So in order for Mark to outbid him, he put 16. So, so you see now Mark is the high bidder with 16,000. However, the actual cost to Mark's stable for bidding 16,000 uh, will be multiplied by his this multiplier. So it would actually cost like Mark's money would be reduced by this 18,720 number. So let's say Mark wins the bid. Um, you'll see that his the amount of money that he has here will drop by that 18,700 number instead of just the 16. So these multipliers make it so that the worst stable can't be outbid by the stable higher than them in the standings if the worst stable chooses to bid everything. So I mentioned that the most Alex could spend in this example is 860,000. Let's say he does that. Because of the multiplier, even though Mark has more than 960,000, he can't bid 861 because with the multiplier, it makes him go over what he has available. He could bid 854 though, which Stefan couldn't outbid because that would make him go over. Um, it looks like Stefan could bid 845, which then Walt couldn't outbid, and so on. All right, so one more example. Let's say Stefan bids 100,000. That would actually cost him 142,000 if he won the bid. So Nate up in second place could still outbid him by let's say put 101. So then the high bid is 101,000 and Nate's the high bidder. But it's going to reduce the amount of money Nate has by almost 190,000 because his multiplier is higher. And it would drop him from second place down to sixth or seventh. Jimmy could outbid in this example. Jimmy's in first place. He could outbid Nate by bidding 102, but instead of costing 189,000, it would cost him 216 because of what his multiplier is. The columns on the right are are supposed to help show what effect your bid would have on your stable. So it's supposed to show how much it will actually cost, your max bid if remaining if you completely bottom out to $100,000. So I think many stables would try to avoid this. But that's the absolute most. I mean, you would be in last place if you bid that amount. And then what place you'll be in if your current bid wins. And then how much money you'll have left over if your current bid wins, since the amount, in this example, Jimmy's money wouldn't go down by 102,000, it would go down by 216. Okay, these multipliers show the gist of the system. This is just a hypothetical. As I mentioned in the post, The multipliers won't be determined solely on the current standings like these were. That's because it wouldn't be fair that some staples got to spend a ton of money in previous drafts, but then prevent everyone else from doing that. So these multipliers will be further adjusted based on previous drafts and maybe some other factors. So, for example, Brett was in second place both times in the two-year-old drafts that we had, and he bottomed out both times. So he's had his opportunity to really spend a lot. So um, in this hypothetical, Brett's multiplier is 1.71. So it might be 1.8 or 3.8. We'll see how the math turns out, but a few factors will go into the multipliers. One other factor I want to mention specifically is that your multiplier will be worse if you miss race days. And the reason for that is that someone could try to lower their place in the standings on purpose to try to get a better multiplier, and that's messed up. So one of the easiest ways to lower your spot in the standings is by failing to participate, and you could do that on purpose to game the system. Um, so we're going to not allow the multipliers to be positively impacted by missing race days. So make sure you put at least one horse in a race day each day. All right, that's all for now.